Today's video is kindly sponsored by jerseyfifa.com, the website you need to head to right away to get yourself the latest high quality football shirts at an extremely affordable price. And what's even better than that, you can use code JerseyFIFA at checkout to get 10% off your order. The link will be in the description, but again I just want to say a massive thank you to Jersey FIFA for sponsoring the video. That's right, there is actually a match analysis video on the AJ Analysis channel, and today that is of course the North London derby between Tottenham and Arsenal last night. To be honest, there weren't really any surprises in the two starting 11s, but we're going to do this game in a slightly different way, splitting it into two halves of analysis. So, despite what a scoreline may suggest, Arsenal actually started the match quite brightly as they looked to take control of possession, looking to use a 2-3 shape in the middle third with Ehrling as the pivot in the midfield. This is the shape we can see quite clearly here, and as I said, during the first 15 minutes or so, Arsenal were able to dominate the possession of the ball quite comfortably, with this being the base for them to build from. It's not really much of a surprise to see Arsenal looking to build possession in this way, because they have plenty of players comfortable on the ball in these areas, although without Ben White they did struggle. Another reason that Arsenal struggled to progress the ball was because Spurs had a brilliant mid-block shape. As usual, Conte was happy to use a less aggressive press, instead opting for an aggressive approach deeper. In these situations, Spurs set up in their usual 5-4-1 shape, with Kane often dropping in to help out the midfield as well, and this was where the mid-block came into full effect as Arsenal simply couldn't move the ball forward. Again, Conte deserves praise for this because a lot of teams expect the bid sides to press relentlessly, but once again Conte showed that it is possible to control the game from this mid-block position. That was pretty much where the possession ended for Arsenal in their first half, so now I want to take a look at what Spurs done in possession, and despite starting in a back 3 formation, they regularly switched to a back 4 to play out from the back. Of course, with Ben Davies having played left back throughout his career, it was quite natural for him to move out towards the left hand side, and with Emerson Royal on the other side, it created a back 4 for the play out. However, despite changing the shape at the back, Spurs didn't find it easy to progress the ball forward, and that was because Arsenal looked to put them under a lot of pressure really high up the pitch to try and overturn possession. Again, this was something that we saw more in the opening 30 minutes or so before certain things changed the game. But while Arsenal were able to press, they done so pretty well and Spurs struggled to play their way through. This was clearly Arteta's game plan to start the game at a high tempo, looking to get in the faces of the Spurs players to stop them from getting into their rhythm higher up the pitch, but Spurs had an answer. The solution to this problem was Heung-min Son, and he done a brilliant job of looking to drop slightly deeper, creating the passing option for the Spurs defenders, allowing Son to get the ball to get the team up the pitch. This particular pattern became very clear extremely early on in the game, with Rob Holding looking to follow Son into these deeper areas. However, Son was still able to show his quality to keep possession and get his team forward. This was ultimately the most important duel in this match, with Holding eventually getting sent off for some utterly stupid play, but for now I want to carry on talking about whilst it was 11 versus 11. The presence of Son alone was enough to cause the Arsenal defenders to retreat slightly out of fear of getting spun, and this meant that Spurs then had a lot more time on the ball, allowing them to build possession in a 3-2 shape in the middle. Here we can see that Arsenal were now taking up a much deeper starting position, giving these Spurs players more time on the ball, allowing Spurs to build possession in this 3-2 shape with Højbjerg and Bentancur central. From these central areas just in front of the defence, I thought that Højbjerg and Bentancur done a really good job of taking control of the game, using their technical ability in particular to keep the ball. This created a solid foundation for Spurs to build possession from, which as a result allowed others to move further forward, with the wingbacks in particular looking to make runs forward out wide to provide the width for the attack. Due to the Spurs dominance, we regularly saw Emerson Royal taking up high starting positions over on the right hand side, whilst on the left it was Sessegnon looking to get forward from left wing back into the final third. This has become a common theme of Spurs under Conte, with the wingbacks pushing extremely high to provide the width for the attack in the final third, and whilst they didn't offer too much quality, their positioning was still important. Unsurprisingly, the key impact of these forward runs from the wingbacks was the fact that it created positional freedom for the two wingers, who were now able to roam about into more central areas closer to Harry Kane. Again, this was quite predictable, but it was still brilliant to watch, with Kulusevski showing his magic as he looked to cut in from the right, which allowed Son to operate more as a runner off the ball as he won this penalty. As I said there, Kulusevski was brilliant, and to be honest he has been pretty much ever since he joined the club, and Spurs played some great stuff during the first half. However, they did eventually get a helping hand, and that came from Arsenal centre-back Rob Holding. To be fair, Holding has done well recently in a depleted Arsenal squad, but his game plan of fouling and wrestling Son every time he got the ball backfired. As a result of going down to 10 men, Arteta reacted at half time by changing shape into more of a 5-3-1 shape, with Martinelli dropping deeper to play at wing back, while Saka was moved into a more central midfield type area. This change in shape was apparent as soon as the second half started, with Arsenal looking to contain Spurs in this defensive shape, and I think their plan was to stay in the game as long as possible to frustrate Tottenham. But again, this just didn't work at all because the shape was far too narrow and too passive, and this meant that the two wider Spurs centre-backs had so much time on the ball to carry the play forward towards the final third. We can see the passive positioning of Arsenal here, and Sanchez was more than happy to stride forward with the ball into this open space, and early on in the half it created an extremely easy method of progression. Again, it was this little pattern and time on the ball that turned out to be fatal to the Arsenal structure, as it was far too easy for the Spurs centre-backs to fire passes in towards the feet of Harry Kane in the box. This arguably came as a result of players like Saka being asked to play positions they simply weren't used to, but as I said, it was costly as it allowed Kane to receive the ball in the box, which is the last thing you want. Arsenal did adjust slightly to make the shape more rigid, which as a result meant that Kane looked to drop slightly deeper. This isn't usually an issue for the defence, but Kane just possesses so much quality on the ball that it was dangerous. We can see Kane here now looking to pick the ball up in deeper areas, but his passing range is just ridiculous, whilst he was also always looking to try and carry the ball forward before firing long range shots at goal, and as always he was absolutely brilliant, something that we seem to say after every North London derby, because he really has become the king of this fixture and allowed Spurs to eventually ease the tempo a little bit. Spurs of course got themselves into a comfortable position where they didn't need to go pushing for more goals, and they were happy to sit back a little bit, allowing Arsenal to have the ball whilst they defended in their defensive solid mid-block. Again, this shape was sort of similar for Spurs, and once again we can see that even the likes of Kane and Son were tracking back for the team to get behind the ball, to really stop any gaps opening up down the centre. As I've been saying all video, Conte deserves credit for this, and I actually think it's quite impressive how he's got these Spurs players buying into this system, especially in bigger games where they have to do a little more defending. Despite Spurs getting plenty of players behind the ball, there were still a couple of gaps for Arsenal to attack, especially out wide, where Cedric regularly looked to get forward from right wing back and into the final third. We can see here that despite having less players on the pitch, Arsenal was still able to create these areas of space out wide, and to be fair, Cedric did do a good job of getting forward, but he just lacked the final delivery. We also saw something similar down the left hand side as well, with Martinelli looking to get forward into more attacking areas, and as always he done a good job of beating his man in these wider attacking areas. Martinelli has impressed me in this sense in almost every game I've watched him in this season, and he showcased it again in this match despite the difficult situation that Arsenal found themselves in, as he looked to drive the team forward. However, despite the good dribbling and reasonably decent overall performance, Martinelli just completely lacked the support or the quality in the final third that he needed to trouble Hugo Lloris in goal. And you know the game ended up being quite one-sided, because I genuinely just had to check whether it was Lloris that played in goal for Spurs or not, because he really didn't have too much to do as Spurs cruised to victory. As a result of this dominance, Spurs went on to secure all 3 points with the 3-0 win and an extremely convincing performance. Personally, I thought that Spurs looked quite threatening even before the red card, but that was certainly the moment that really steered this match in a certain direction, and I just can't figure out what Holding was trying to do. However, I'm sure that Conte won't mind one bit, because this was a massive 3 points for his side in the race for a spot in the top 4. And on that subject, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on who you think will take that spot in the top 4, because it is absolutely huge for both sides, and it's going to be a tense final few weeks in the Premier League. I hope you enjoy it, I hope you enjoyed the video, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.